Hey Giants fans, welcome back to Giants Latest. Hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all things Giants. The Giants officially released their first unofficial depth chart, and there are some things that we need to discuss that I found very interesting. So let's go ahead and move right along to the offense. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to run through the starters at every position, and then, we'll go through the seconds and whatever and talk through what I think is interesting about it. So your starting offense for the 2025 New York Giants is your three wide receivers, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, Malik Neighbors. Is there any surprise there? No. Next up, our right tackle, Jermaine Illuminor is the starter. Again, no surprise. Right guard is Greg Van Roten. Center, JMS. Left guard, John Runyon. Left tackle, James Hudson. The only thing that I find interesting about this is that they don't have Andrew Thomas as the number one, with like an asterisk saying that he's on PUP, but we're not going to read into that because obviously Andrew Thomas is the starter when he's activated from the PUP list. And then the tight end is Theo Johnson, and then the quarterback is Russell Wilson. Now, let's go through the quarterbacks while we're here. I don't think there's any surprise to what I'm seeing right now is the unofficial depth chart. Russ 1, Jameis 2, Dart 3, DeVito 4. DeVito is going to be a practice squatter this year. No real surprise there. I know that Jackson Dart has been getting a lot of reps with the twos, but I would have been surprised if at this point they decided that he was the backup quarterback. So no surprise there. We're going to continue to watch that as preseason goes and see if that changes at all. Next up, I find something interesting about the tight end position because they have Daniel Bellinger as number 2, Manhurts number 3, Dulcich as number 4, and then as number 5, they have Fidone and Jermaine Terry. Now, the reason that I find this interesting is because there's been a lot of discourse around Daniel Bellinger this year. Of course, because they drafted Fidone, that there was talks of Fidone being the future and whatever. Now, Fidone's dealing with a concussion right now, but Bellinger has also not gotten a bunch of reps with the ones. Like when I have seen the starting offense out there, most of the time it's been Chris Manhurts and Theo Johnson. So very interesting to me that they have Belly as number 2, not Manhurts as number 3. Again, this is unofficial. It's not all of it, but the 2s and 3s will have the most amount of movement as preseason continues. But I just want to point that out because I thought that was very interesting. And I am one of the people who, if you saw my 53-man roster prediction, I was torn between Bellinger and Fidone, and it ended up, if I had to pick one, I ended up picking Fidone just because I feel like he's probably more the future of this team than Bellinger. But so I wanted to point that out too because I find that very interesting. Okay, next up, for the wide receiver on the outside, we have Darius Slayton and Malik Neighbors. The number 2s behind them are Jalen Hyatt, no surprise there, and Little Jordan Humphrey. Now, I'm surprised by that because I think that both Beau Collins and Montrell Washington have had a better spring training than Little Jordan Humphrey. Now, Little Jordan Humphrey has done a nice job. He's made some really nice catches. He's caught a couple touchdowns, things like that. But from what I've seen when I've been at practice, it's been a lot of Montrell Washington. Now, to be fair, Montrell Washington is catching a lot of balls from Jackson Dart as opposed to Russell Wilson, but interesting. They have Montrell Washington as the 3rd wide receiver in the slot position. So they have Wan'Dale Robinson, Amir Smith-Marset. No surprises there. Number 3, they have Montrell Washington. So that I thought was interesting. And the 4th wide receivers for the outside, they have Juice Wells, Daquan Felton. For the slot, they have Dalen Cambry. Not really a surprise there to me at all. And then behind Little Jordan Humphrey, they have Beau Collins. So the wide receiver position is, I think, one of the positions that is going to have the most amount of movement throughout preseason. So between Beau Collins, Little Jordan Humphrey, Montrell Washington, and Dalen Cambry, I mean, you could also include Zach Pascal in that list, but I just feel like I think it's actually Pascal. I don't think Zach Pascal has done enough compared to some of the other players to be a standout, definite number 6 wide receiver on this team. So that position is going to be very interesting to watch. And when the next depth chart comes out next week, it will be fun to compare and see what the real difference is. But thought that was very interesting. Okay, next up, offensive line at right tackle, we have Jermaine Illuminor, number 1, Marcus Bowe as the backup right tackle, which I think is great. And then the 3rd is Stone Forsythe. Fine, no issues with that. Right guard, Not really a huge surprise here. Greg Van Roten, number 1, Evan Neal, number 2, and number 3, Jake Kubas. Again, fine with that. Don't have any issue. The center, JMS, Austin Schlottman, Jimmy Morrissey. I don't think Jimmy Morrissey is making this roster, so him being the third doesn't surprise me. Left guard, John Runyon, Aaron Stinney, Brian Hudson. Not a huge surprise there. This next one is going to send me over the deep end. And I can't wait to have Art Stapleton on my podcast because he was joking around with me and telling me that I need to relax about making a big deal out of seeing Joshua Ezeudu at left tackle during training camp. And I was like, Art, who is the backup left tackle on this roster right now? Do you want to know who it is besides James Hudson? It's Joshua Ezeudu. I cannot. The fact that he is not the fourth string left tackle is infuriating to me. The fact that he's still on this team is infuriating to me. I know James Hudson is going to be the backup, okay? I know that because it's going to be Andrew Thomas and then it's going to be James Hudson. But for the love of God, take Joshua Ezeudu off this roster at the tackle position. The fact that they are continually forcing it, if you're a 90s kid like me who loves the movie Mean Girls, it's like, Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not happening. It's not working. You've heard me talk about this before. I am not going to absolutely lose my mind, but maybe on my own podcast, I'm gonna, because I can't with this. It's enough is enough. It's enough. Lastly, let's talk about the running back, which I think did I glaze right over Tyrone Tracy being the starting running back? I might have. Okay, the running back situation is Tyrone Tracy, number 1, Singletary, number 2, Scat, number 3, and my boy Turbo Miller, number 4. And then they have Jonathan Ward, the player that they just signed, as number 5. Tracy being number 1 over Turbo is a little bit of a surprise to me. Now, I think we all agree that Turbo deserves those reps, but the fact that Dable always speaks so highly about Devin Singletary, they call him Motor, and that they love him, and he's a great addition to this team, and he brings yada yada to the running back room. They always speak so highly of him and things like that, that I'm kind of surprised he's the number 2. But I like it because I want to see more Tracy this year, and I know we're all dying to see a lot of Scataboo. That is who I want to see moving forward. Singletary has been fine in camp. I think he's a steady, consistent back. Obviously, he had the fumbling issue last year. Tyrone Tracy also had a fumbling issue last year. A lot of issues last year that we hope don't carry into this year. But anyway, I found that was interesting. Wanted to point that out. Again, continue to monitor. Next week, I'll do another video that's just like this, focusing on the round 2 of the depth chart, and we will talk through what's interesting about it. Moving along, let's talk about the defense now, because some more interesting things. So starting with our starting defense, we have defensive end, they have Kayvon, number 1, nose tackle Dexter, defensive tackle Nacho, outside linebacker Burns, inside linebacker Bobbio, inside linebacker Micah McFadden, nickel Drew Phillips, outside corner Paulson Adebo, safety Newbin, safety Holland. Are you ready for this? For the other cornerback position, they have Deontay Banks, Cordell Flott. Now, we've talked about how this has been a competition throughout camp and blah, blah, blah. Still, to see it like that in the unofficial depth chart is very interesting because there are no other, I don't know if you guys have looked at this yet, there are no other starting positions that have 2 players listed as the number 1. The cornerback 2 is the only one. Preseason's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Okay, let's go through some backups now here because I know you're all going to be like, where is Abdul Carter? I will tell you. So the backup defensive end behind Kayvon is Chauncey Golston. The backup nose tackle behind Dexter is Elijah Chapman. Backup DT behind Nacho is Roy Robertson Harris, who we've seen a ton of during camp, so I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. What's interesting here is they have Darius Alexander as the number 3 defensive tackle behind Nacho. Now, I think this is a position that's also like the wide receiver. I think this is going to be one that's going to be really interesting throughout preseason because there's been a lot of talk of if the Giants cut Nacho, they can save a lot of money. They brought in Roy Robertson Harris this offseason, and he's been getting a ton of snaps opposite Dexter Lawrence. So it's going to be really interesting. And obviously, they picked Darius Alexander this draft in the 3rd round. So, like, he's something that they're excited about moving forward. So there's that is definitely going to be interesting moving forward. If you're curious about the backup nose tackles, it's Elijah Chapman and DJ Davidson. DJ Davidson is not making this roster. Now, the backup outside linebacker behind Burns is Abdul Carter and then Toman Fox. So obviously Shane Bowen has talked extensively about he's going to put the best 11 players on the field. We've all talked about a million times how I've been at camp, you've been at camp. We have all seen a number of different plays where Burns, Thibodeau, and Carter are all on the field together. So no one freak out about Abdul Carter being the number 2 behind Brian Burns. It's absolutely nothing to worry about. Something else that I find interesting here is that Chris Board is the backup linebacker behind McFadden, where Darius Muasau is behind Bobby O. Muasau is not a surprise. Saw a ton of him throughout camp. They drafted him last year. He got some playing time last year. No surprise there. But Chris Board, I feel like we haven't seen a ton of during camp. He's a good special teamer. They brought him in this spring. So I'm curious to see how that develops, but I don't really think there will be much change at the linebacker position this spring. Next up, the nickel, my boy Nick Jones, number 31. Watch him during preseason. He's done a really nice job during camp. He is the backup behind Drew Phillips. And like I said, he's done a nice job. I hope that continues throughout preseason. This is something that I also think is interesting. The backup corner behind Adebo is Trey Hawkins, followed by Art Green. Now, I will say Trey Hawkins has done a nice job this spring. Hasn't been like completely noteworthy where he's blown it off the screen that he's good enough to compete for, cornerback 1 or 2, which like we don't want that, right? We spent all this money on Paulson Adebo. We traded up to draft Tay Banks in the 1st round. Like, a 6th round pick shouldn't be battling it out or being better than either one of those, But I think he's done enough at this point to prove maybe that he deserves the backup spot. Art Green is right behind him. So those 2 guys, number 37 and Art Green is number 35, I'm pretty sure. Watch those guys during preseason if you're interested, because I think they're going to be fun to watch. Next up for the safeties, we obviously have Newman and Holland, and behind them we have Dane Belton and Raheem Lane. We all know, we've seen a lot of Belton. He's the number 2, and we've also seen packages with Newman, Holland, and Belton all on the field. We're also going to see that this year. Raheem Lane has done a nice job during practice. Again, someone to watch during preseason. And Makari Page is listed as the number 3. And then Kevon Wallace is the number 4. The number 3 behind Javon Holland. So I think a couple people have been interested in Wallace. He's the 3rd string, hasn't done enough to stand out outside of guys like Dane Bellin and Raheem Lane. So I don't know if he will continue to do that throughout preseason, but someone to watch. So what they did for the cornerback 2 position is they have Flott and Banks listed as the number 1 spot. They left the number 2 spot empty, and then in the number 3 spot, they have Corey Black, and number 4 is D. Williams. So again, very interesting. I think we all knew that it was going to be between those 2. Whoever's not the 1 is going to be the number 2, but preseason is going to be more fun to watch those 2 duke it out. And for anyone who is like me, a South Carolina alum and is always rooting for our Carolina boys, O'Donnell Fortune is a cornerback out of South Carolina, UDFA. He is listed as the 4th corner behind Adebo, Hawkins, and Art Green. So he is number 30. I will get back to you on that. I'm not 100% sure. He is a number in the 30s. Watch him during preseason if you're interested, because I will be watching him. And I met him in person. He is the nicest, sweetest man. I was like, I went to USC. I'm a Gamecock alum. I'm rooting for you. Go out there and do it. So let's hope he does. Lastly, let's talk through special teams. Not a ton to note here. Long snapper Casey Kreider, holder Jamie Gillen, punter Jamie Gillen, punt returner Amir Smith-Marset, kickoff returner Amir Smith-Marset, kicker our beloved Graham Gano. The only thing that I thought was interesting here is they have Montreal Washington as the number 2 Punt returner, Jordan Bly, number 3, Gunnar Olszewski, number 4, and Dalen Cambry, number 5. Then for the kickoff returner, they have Smith Marset, D. Williams, number 2, Tyrone Tracy, number 3. For the love of God, get him off special teams. I don't want to see it. Number 4, Devin Singletary. I don't know what this is. And then number 5 is Montreal Washington. So again, we're talking about like the 3rd and 4th string kickoff and punt returners. Like, it doesn't really matter right now, but I just am one of those people who I'm like, please don't put the starting players back there. We don't need to risk that. Anyway, that's it for the first unofficial depth chart. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned for players to watch during preseason coming the next 2 days.